Unseen places, the hidden cost of exploring our world. A roughly 150-kilometer unpaved road limits access to Madagascar's fragile limestone forest. Earth's largest cave passage admits 1,000 visitors yearly, revealing what easier access could cost. Isolation is not an inconvenience here. It is part of the protection. A road, cable car, cruise dock, or viral image can turn a remote landscape into a crowded route faster than rock, ice, coral, and wildlife can absorb the pressure. Yet strict gates can also fund guards, guides, and nearby communities. I want to examine that hard boundary. When does discovery support a place, and when does it begin to consume it? In this video, we explore how distance, engineering, law, and local control decide what can be seen and what can endure the pressure that follows. A stone forest remains intact because crossing it without built access is nearly impossible. Across an ancient limestone plateau above the Manambolo River Gorge, water opened fractures into deep fissures, caves, and blade-edged pinnacles. Its Malagasy name means, "where one cannot walk barefoot." That is a physical warning, not folklore. The labyrinth does more than obstruct movement. It divides life into tight zones, scorched summits, damp crevices, and forest around the base. Lemurs, reptiles, and birds adapted inside those separated pockets, including species found nowhere beyond Madagascar. Cutting broad paths would not simply improve access, it would join habitats shaped by isolation. The first defense is a rough road of roughly 150 kilometers from Morondava, made harder by the seasons. The barrier slows traffic before it reaches the rock. Inside the open sections, ladders, suspension bridges, narrow passages, and fixed circuits concentrate movement. They impose discipline without carving a conventional trail through every formation. The Northern Reserve remains largely closed to ordinary tourism. That restraint avoids the railings, wasteworks, and heavy foot traffic that mass access would demand. At Tsingy, distance is not failed access. It is the last working barrier between a rare ecology and the machinery needed to sell it at scale. A migration spanning hundreds of miles can be narrowed by parked safari vehicles. The Serengeti covers nearly 6,000 square miles, yet more than 1.5 million wildebeest move far beyond it on a circular route of roughly 500 miles. Zebras and gazelles move with them, following seasonal grass and water. Calving in the south, the northern push, and river crossings are linked parts of one moving chain. Lions, hyenas, crocodiles, and other predators track that concentration. But the migration survives only while the land ahead remains open. Beyond park boundaries, settlement, fences, roads, farms, and development press against the route. A herd does not recognize the line on a protected area map. Maasai communities also hold long-standing cultural and pastoral ties to this wider ground. Protection preserved wildlife, but it also displaced people and restricted customary grazing. Inside popular safari areas, the pressure takes another form. Vehicles converge on a crossing or a resting cat, adding noise and briefly closing an animal's line of movement. Tourism revenue can support conservation, but every engine occupies part of the corridor it came to witness. The migration endures only while its corridor remains wider than the traffic drawn to it. Entry to the world's largest cave passage is scarce by design. Sondung holds nearly 40 million cubic meters of space, yet annual access is capped at roughly 1,000 visitors through a single licensed operator. This is not an empty chamber prepared for crowds. Underground rivers still cut the limestone, clouds can form inside, and roof openings support patches of forest. Stalagmites rise tens of meters. The route demands several days, cave specialists, porters, camps, and controlled river crossings. That labor is part of the limit. It keeps the cave an expedition, not a short stop fed by machinery. Local resident Ho Khan found the entrance. A later British-Vietnamese expedition mapped Sondung. Discovery opened a decision: build for volume or control the threshold. The monsoon closes the route completely, as flooding makes the passage unstable and ecologically vulnerable. Permits and seasonality follow the cave's limits instead of forcing the cave to follow demand. Plans for easier mechanical access, including a cable car, met sustained opposition and were shelved. That refusal protected more than the cavern. It protected the need for restraint. One operator, one hard quota, and a monsoon closure turned policy into a physical threshold. An island can escape mass tourism and still lose the forest that made it extraordinary. About 1/3 of Socotra's plant species exist nowhere else, yet isolation no longer shields them from pressure. The archipelago sits between the Arabian Sea and the Gulf of Aden, separated long enough for evolution to take its own course. UNESCO listed the archipelago in 2008. The dragon's blood tree intercepts mist, limits evaporation, and shades the soil beneath its umbrella canopy. That design can endure drought. It cannot replace missing generations. Many groves now hold mostly old trees. Goats consume seedlings. Unreliable rainfall cuts moisture, and eroded ground retains less water. Protected nurseries can raise saplings, but repair remains slow. These trees need decades of stable care, while fragmented governance weakens monitoring and enforcement. Socotra communities already work within hard limits through fishing, date cultivation, herding, and seasonal movement. Freshwater is scarce, so conservation cannot ignore the livelihoods tied to this ground. 2 cyclones struck in quick succession in 2015, damaging roads, homes, and vegetation. Yemen's continuing conflict has also obstructed scientific work, transport, and basic supplies. The oldest trees show endurance. The empty space beneath them exposes the future. Climate pressure and political fracture are already damaging this paradise before mass tourism arrives. Low doorways have turned Makunik into a story about a hidden people. The historic quarter tells a better supported story: stone, earth, and mud brick rooms shaped by scarcity. Some rooms were built partly below ground. Low ceilings, narrow doors, and small openings required less material and held warmth through cold desert nights. Timber was scarce, resources were limited, and temperatures shifted sharply. These homes were practical engineering under pressure, not proof of a separate population. Historical poverty and restricted diets may have contributed to shorter stature, strengthening the folklore. But no accepted archaeological evidence establishes a distinct population of unusually small people. Low doors make the legend easy to sell. Climate, materials, isolation, and household economics make it unnecessary. Roads, electricity, modern houses, and changing diets have reshaped life beyond the old core. Preservation now means maintaining real buildings without manufacturing a cleaner myth. Tourism income could support repairs to the old core. Confident retellings of uncertain folklore instead push the village's real adaptation out of view. Makunik needs no invented inhabitants. Its low rooms already show how families saved material, held warmth, and endured scarcity. Protecting that truth matters more than selling fantasy. One family's roof is another family's ground. Palangan climbs the sides of a narrow valley, stacking stone houses, so scarce level land works twice, as shelter below and a path or courtyard above. This is practical architecture. It shortens movement across steep ground and makes each roof part of the village route. Springs and the Tangivar River support orchards, livestock, fish farming, and small plots. Broad fields are impossible, so every workable shelf must produce. Ruined fortifications link Palangan to the Kurdish Ardalan period, but outside accounts of its earliest history remain uneven, and confidence should stop where evidence thins. The stronger fact is present tense. This remains a living Kurdish village, not an abandoned monument. Household work, animal keeping, gatherings, and rooftop movement require continued occupation. Better roads and online images can bring income. They can also turn working roofs into uncontrolled viewpoints and encourage staged versions of ordinary life. Those roofs are also workspaces and routes, not empty overlooks. Uncontrolled access can interrupt the household life that keeps the architecture alive. Palangan's restraint is built into stone. Use little ground, share the roof, keep the village occupied. Access has value only while those roofs remain homes and routes, not viewpoints or staged attractions. A lake famous around the world survives largely because almost no one can reach its shore. Lake Hillier runs only about 600 meters along Middle Island, sealed from the Southern Ocean by dunes and coastal vegetation. Its pink color comes from a salt-adapted community. Dunaliella algae, halophilic archaea, and pigment-producing bacteria. Their pigments, salinity, and water chemistry produce the effect. It is not a fixed coat. Heavy rain can dilute the salt and weaken the color, proving that isolation does not freeze nature in place. Matthew Flinders recorded the lake in 1802. Later, a brief salt extraction effort showed the impulse to turn a rare landscape into a product. Middle Island is now protected, with no routine public access on land. Most views come from aircraft or regulated approaches by sea. No road reaches the shoreline. No platform, sanitation network, or stream of feet has been built to absorb mass attention. That physical separation blocks trampling, unauthorized swimming, litter, and the pressure to harden the island for convenience. Access remains, but the shoreline never becomes a public attraction. Perfect visitor behavior is hypothetical. The firm boundary around Lake Hillier is already doing the work. A single photograph can send mass attention down a path never built to carry it. Across the Badung Strait from Bali, Nusa Penida funnels that pressure into three cliff-edge icons: Kelingking, Broken Beach, and Angel's Billabong. Kelingking's headland, recognized for its dinosaur-like outline, was never built as a mass viewing deck. Access relies on steep paths, informal steps, narrow roads, and exposed cliff edges. As more visitors converge on the same frame, soil strips away, trails widen, motorbikes choke the roads, and rescue incidents expose the gap between attention and capacity. The pressure reaches below the waterline. Cool upwellings and strong currents support coral reefs, manta cleaning stations, sea turtles, and seasonal ocean sunfish. Tour boats bring income, but crowded routes, anchoring, fuel, and waste can disturb animals and damage coral unless movement is controlled. On land, coastal communities still farm seaweed, while hotels, restaurants, and day-trip vehicles pull harder on limited freshwater, energy, roads, and waste disposal. The cost of fame is therefore split in two: an eroded path above the cliff and repeated disturbance below the surface. Nusa Penida makes the bargain plain. Income matters, but restraint must arrive before another famous image demands wider roads, harder trails, and more water. The famous frozen bubbles belong to an artificial lake built over an inhabited river valley. Abraham Lake covers about 54 square kilometers on Alberta's North Saskatchewan River, created by the Bighorn Dam in the early 1970s. This is not a natural alpine lake. It is stored water, held and shifted for hydroelectric power. Each winter, methane from decomposing organic matter rises from the reservoir bed and locks into stacked white disks beneath clear ice. Strong wind strips away snow and exposes them. But dam operations keep moving the water below. Cracks, hollow spaces, and uneven thickness can form beneath a surface promoted for walking and photography. The deeper cost lies under the reservoir. The Kootenay Plains had supported Stoney Nakoda homes, pasture, hunting, ceremony, and community memory. The project advanced before modern environmental assessments and without meaningful public hearings. Water-covered cabins, grazing land, and ancestral resting places. The reservoir carries the name of Silas Abraham, a Stoney Nakoda farmer and hunter. That name cannot convert forced loss into consent. The bubbles should never be shown alone. The complete frame includes decomposition below the ice, dam control upstream, and a Stoney Nakoda cultural landscape permanently reorganized without consent. Annual visits to Jiuzhaigou rose from about 5,000 to more than 5 million in 4 decades, faster than a narrow valley could adjust. Jiuzhaigou branches through Sichuan's Aba-Tibetan Chiang Autonomous Prefecture, and its name remembers 9 Tibetan villages. This is a living cultural landscape, not empty wilderness. Carbonate-rich water lays travertine barriers across the valley floor, splitting the flow into clear lakes, shoals, and waterfalls. Minerals, algae, submerged wood, and changing light shift those waters from turquoise to deep blue. Tight geography also limits movement. Ticket caps, shuttle buses, boardwalks, and closed zones channel tens of thousands beside fragile water. That machinery limits trampling, but concentrates roads, foot traffic, and maintenance along the same narrow waterways. Then the land moved. In 2017, a magnitude 7 earthquake shifted slopes, damaged roads, altered lakes, and partly collapsed natural structures around Nuorilang waterfall, closing the park for more than a year. Reconstruction restored access, not the former shape of every watercourse. Giant pandas and golden snub-nosed monkeys still survive in forests beyond the crowded lake corridors. Shuttle buses can organize millions. Only a daily load below the valley's recovery rate can protect it. One of Earth's richest reef regions survives not because it is famous, but because fishing communities still control what can be taken. Across more than 1,000 islands, surveys have recorded over 550 reef-building corals and well over 1,400 fish species. At the center of the coral triangle, Pacific and Indonesian currents carry larvae and nutrients between reefs, mangroves, and seagrass nurseries. Distance never secured this abundance. Coastal communities hold customary fishing rights, while SASI closes selected areas or species to harvesting for a set period. Community patrols, no-take zones, visitor fees, and locally managed marine areas turn restraint into daily work. They protect spawning grounds and curb damaging fishing across waters governed by local agreements. Tourism can fund that work and create income beyond extraction. It also brings liveaboards, dive boats, construction, plastic waste, and poorly placed anchors that strike the very reef sold as the attraction. Warming seas and coral bleaching cross every village boundary, so local authority needs durable revenue and real enforcement. Authority on the water, not fame on a screen, keeps these reefs alive. Tourism belongs only when it funds and follows local restraint. Piopiotahi feels vast until traffic converges on one road, one tunnel, and the same few daylight hours. Milford Sound is a glacial fjord, not a river sound. Ice cut a deep basin with cliffs rising nearly 1,200 meters directly from the water. More than 6 meters of rain can fall in a year. Runoff drops from hanging valleys, changing visibility and vessel conditions within the confined basin. Forest tannins darken the surface freshwater. Floating above seawater, this layer blocks light, letting deep-water organisms such as black coral live unusually close to the surface. Bottlenose dolphins, seals, and fjordland-crested penguins use the same confined water crossed by sightseeing boats and kayaks. The surrounding national park is immense, but capacity is set by the narrow harbor, terminals, wake zones, and single-road approach. Coaches, cruise boats, kayaks, helicopters, and fixed-wing aircraft compress their pressure into a few daylight hours. Piopiotahi's limit is measured in its narrow waterway. Access protects the place only when daily traffic leaves room for quiet and wildlife. A glacier that appears stable can hide the decline of an entire ice field. Across more than 700,000 hectares of Argentine Patagonia, Los Glaciares protects part of the southern Patagonian ice field, the largest temperate ice mass in the southern hemisphere. At high elevation, snow compacts into ice, then gravity drives dozens of glaciers down toward Great Lakes. Perito Moreno is the outlier. Its front has remained comparatively steady, while many neighboring glaciers retreat. Its rare balance comes from local snowfall, temperature, channel geometry, and the speed of flowing ice. It is not proof that the wider field is secure. Where the glacier crosses a narrow channel of Lake Argentino, it can seal off Brazo Rico and force water higher on one side. Pressure cuts tunnels through the ice until part of the arch gives way. The cycle is irregular, not annual. The cracking heard from the platforms is the sound of constant movement, not one isolated failure. Roads, balconies, and boat routes have made the remote ice wall unusually accessible. That network concentrates visitors away from the moving surface, opening a view without placing everyone on the ice. Perito Moreno is a local exception, never proof of safety for the ice beyond it. The roads that make Lake Tahoe reachable also carry fine sediment that can cloud its celebrated water. Set in a high granite basin on the California-Nevada border, the lake drops about 1,600 feet, while visibility can reach roughly 70 feet on calm days. The blue comes from great depth, low nutrient levels, and light reaching far below the surface. It is also a record of what enters the basin. Fine sediment from roads and construction scatters light. Nitrogen and phosphorus feed algae, while stormwater, shoreline development, wildfire ash, invasive species, and warmer surface water add pressure from different directions. Long before resorts and property lines enclosed the shore, the Washoe people knew the lake as Da'awa Gay and moved through the basin seasonally. Now, millions of annual visits arrive through mountain highways for skiing, beaches, boating, and hiking. Parking areas, marinas, lodging, snow management, and wastewater systems must absorb that load. Each addition expands disturbed ground and adds runoff pressure. the machinery of access can weaken the exact quality it was built to display. Tahoe's clarity is the basin's hard measure of how much access its shore can bear. No road reaches the marble caves, yet growing demand can still crowd the water around them. From Puerto Rio Tranquilo, access is normally limited to small boats and kayaks crossing Lake General Carrera, where Patagonian wind can close the route with little warning. For thousands of years, waves worked along fractures in metamorphosed limestone, cutting chambers, columns, and low tunnels into polished marble. Water made this place, and water still controls every entry. The stone itself is white and blue-gray. Turquoise shifts across it as glacial sediment, sunlight, lake depth, and reflected color change through the seasons. Strong winds can lift steep waves quickly, cancel departures, and make the lowest caverns unsafe to enter. No schedule can guarantee entry. Conditions decide access day by day. Isolation has kept mass use physically difficult. There is no broad terrace, no road, and little room for visitors to spread once boats reach the openings. But remoteness is a delay, not a shield. More demand can crowd the launch, add engine noise, drive wakes into narrow entrances, and create pressure for larger docks and more visitor services. If those physical limits are engineered away, isolation will stop protecting the caves. Only firm operating limits can replace it. A persistent lava lake lies inside a desert where extreme heat, unstable ground, isolation, and political insecurity converge on the same route. Erta Ale rises only about 600 meters, yet its summit holds one of roughly 8 persistent lava lakes known on the planet. Below it, 3 tectonic plates pull apart at the Afar Triple Junction. Thinning crust feeds the lake, though vents can open, overflow, or drain. The approach demands rough desert driving, then movement during cooler night hours. Guides, drivers, camel handlers, and security personnel carry the route. Their presence answers extreme heat, volcanic gas, brittle crater crust, isolation, and difficult rescue. A shared image makes access look simple. The crew and terrain prove otherwise. An eruption in 2005 cost residents about 250 livestock and forced thousands from their homes. Lava overflows returned years later. A serious armed incident near the volcano in 2012 resulted in the loss of 5 tourists. Escorted travel then became common, turning security from a precaution into part of the route. At Erta Ale, the boundary between wonder and hazard is enforced by heat, unstable rock, and an armed escort, not by the promise of a photograph. A village built without conventional streets has survived a brutal slope. Global attention may prove harder to manage. In 2021, UNESCO inscribed the Hauraman cultural landscape across Iran's Kurdistan and Kermanshah provinces, bringing Uraman Takht and roughly 3,000 residents under far wider attention. Architecture here is not decoration. Dense stone houses rise in tiers. Each roof becomes pedestrian ground or a yard for the household above. Dry stone walls hold narrow terraces against gravity, protecting the soil and water needed for walnuts, pomegranates, and small fields. Families also move livestock between lower and higher seasonal pastures. This is engineering without spectacle. Generations fitting stone to steep ground and organizing work around altitude. Remove that daily labor, and the walls become shells. The Harami language and the annual Pir Shalyar ceremony bind shared spaces to music, communal food, and religious practice. Their value depends on residents using them, not on customs being staged for arrivals. Recognition can fund repairs and strengthen local livelihoods. It can also bring traffic, property pressure, souvenir development, and a village shaped for outsiders. Failure would be easy to recognize. Repaired stone facades with no farming, Harami language, ritual, or ordinary residents behind them. Lake Urmia once covered about 5,000 square kilometers. Its shore was not worn away by visitors but emptied by decisions made upstream. By late summer 2025, satellite images showed Lake Urmia at an extreme seasonal low, vast dry ground with only residual water. At its former scale, the hypersaline lake spread between East and West Azerbaijan and supported brine shrimp, migratory flamingos, islands, and wetlands. The collapse was built upstream. Dams cut river inflow, farms drew from rivers and groundwater, and a causeway restricted circulation between northern and southern basins. Prolonged drought and high evaporation deepened the deficit. As water retreated, salinity rose beyond the tolerance of much of the brine shrimp population, weakening the food supply for migratory birds. The exposed lake bed gives the wind direct access to salt. Carried toward farms and settlements, it threatens soil, crops, and respiratory health. Restoration has paid for water releases, wetland work, and more efficient irrigation. But savings are hard to secure, while rural livelihoods remain tied to water-intensive production. Satellite images make one fact unavoidable. Tourism did not empty Lake Urmia. Development policy did. The salt makes the cost visible. Dams, roads, crops, and water policy can consume an extraordinary place before crowds arrive. The world's largest coral structure can be weakened by heat no barrier can stop. It runs about 2,300 kilometers along Queensland, yet marine heat can strike distant reefs at the same time. That reach supports more than 1,500 fish species, hundreds of coral species, turtles, dugongs, seabirds, and seagrass habitat. But scale creates variation, not immunity. Bleaching begins when sustained heat forces coral to expel the algae, supplying much of its color and energy. A pale colony can survive, but prolonged or repeated stress may deny it time to recover. Severe mass bleaching has returned repeatedly since the late 1990s, including several events within the past decade. Cyclones, runoff, crown of thorns starfish, and coastal development add local strain. Tourism is concentrated in a small part of the reef. It can support guides, monitoring, and restoration, though anchoring and heavy use still require control. The harder contradiction is that visitor boundaries can reduce local damage while a warming sea crosses all of them at once. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have managed sea country here for thousands of years. Their ranger work and reef monitoring place long stewardship inside any serious defense. Vast reach proves no safety. It makes restraint from anchoring to ocean heat more urgent. "5 minutes in a cable car turn a weather-beaten summit into an urban arrival." The cableway lifts passengers about 2,500 feet from Cape Town's edge, carrying hundreds of thousands each year onto a habitat with little room for repeated foot traffic. The mountain rises just over 1,000 meters, with resistant sandstone holding its level profile above older granite. That hard rock can mislead. The soil above it is shallow. Moist air forced over the plateau condenses into the tablecloth cloud, bringing water, but also sudden fog, wind, and rapid shifts in weather. Across these slopes, more than 1,500 plant species pack into Fynbos, many with extremely limited ranges. A boot beyond the path can crush growth that returns slowly. Fynbos can recover after periodic fire arriving too often, in the wrong season, or alongside invasive plants, can block that recovery. Easy access, therefore, concentrates pressure. Rotating cabins deliver crowds to paths, viewpoints, and facilities. Off-trail movement compacts soil, breaks plants, and widens informal tracks. Food and waste also draw opportunistic animals. Firm paths and visitor limits must keep the summit a rare botanical habitat rather than an urban observation deck. Remoteness did not save the Galapagos. Law had to finish the job. About 1,000 kilometers of ocean separate the islands from mainland Ecuador. Yet aircraft, cargo, food, and visitors can cross that barrier in hours. Rising from a volcanic hotspot, the archipelago gave separated populations room to change. Giant tortoises, marine iguanas, and flightless cormorants became distinct in ways found almost nowhere else. Below the surface, warm and cold currents meet. Nutrient-rich upwelling feeds fish, seabirds, sea lions, and even penguins near the equator. Ecuador protects roughly 97% of the land as a national park and surrounds the islands with a large marine reserve. Those borders need enforcement on every landing and shipment. Visitor quotas, licensed naturalist guides, fixed trails, vessel permits, and designated landing points control where people move and how closely they approach wildlife. The less visible defense begins before arrival. Inspectors check cargo, luggage, food, and aircraft to reduce the entry of rats, insects, seeds, and disease. Tourism revenue supports conservation, but more flights and freight also increase water demand and waste. Quotas, licensed guides, cargo inspections, and enforcement, not remoteness, keep access compatible with this fragile ecosystem. Serengeti remains comparatively wild because its final approach was never engineered for ease. Above Lake Whalen, Serengeti Falls descends in 3 stages, and its middle cascade drops about 300 meters almost without interruption. Its force is not fixed. Snowmelt and rain build a heavy spring flow, while dry weather can reduce the same cliff to a thin fall. Nearby, the Rinquel bursts from a karst spring at the cliff base. Its discharge can rise quickly after rain, driving another pulse toward the shore. Reaching Betlis still takes a boat or a restricted road, followed by a walk to a simple viewing area. Access exists, but it stops before the cliff becomes a fully serviced attraction. There is no vast car park, elevator, retail strip, or engineered deck pressed against the rock. That absence matters more than any promise of untouched nature. Movement arrives in smaller loads, spread between lake crossing and footpath. The terrain, not a visitor complex, still sets the terms. One detail resists commercialization. Serengeti cannot guarantee a spectacle. Its changing flow refuses to deliver the same dramatic product every day. Visitors can see the falls, but the cliff has not been rebuilt around the act of seeing. One of Europe's most admired coastlines is now measured as much by stopped traffic as by open sea. For roughly 50 kilometers, towns and terraces cling to the Sorrentine Peninsula, while State Road 163 carries buses, cars, scooters, deliveries and pedestrians through the same tight bends. The road is trapped on a coast with almost no spare ground. Positano, Amalfi, Ravello, and Atrani occupy ravines and narrow shelves between mountain and sea. That vertical shape carries a hidden workforce. Stone walls hold terraces of vines, olives, and the thick-skinned Sfusato Amalfitano lemon, often reached by stairs and paths that resist machinery. When cultivation retreats, maintenance goes with it. Walls can fail, leaving slopes more exposed to erosion and fire. The same demand that fills rentals and visitor shops also loads the narrow corridor beyond its working scale. Seasonal traffic rules, buses and ferries ease the pressure. None creates more land. Short-term rentals and visitor shops can lift property values while pushing out ordinary services and residents. A village may remain immaculate for photographs while becoming harder to inhabit. The coastal view and the queue now belong to the same story. Restraint keeps demand from consuming the residents and terraces that sustain the view. A city can hold back the sea and still lose the people who make it function. Venice spreads across more than 100 lagoon islands, yet its historic center now holds fewer than 50,000 permanent residents, while day visitors can greatly outnumber them. The canals once carried the reach of a maritime republic. Palaces and churches still hold Byzantine, Gothic, Islamic, and Renaissance influences gathered through trade. But ordinary city life is being squeezed from inside. Homes become short-term accommodation, shops pivot toward visitors, and crowded water transport makes daily movement harder for residents. At the same time, the lagoon presses from outside. Aqua alta combines tides, wind, and atmospheric conditions with long-term subsidence and rising sea level. Venice answers with one of the age's most forceful pieces of defensive engineering: mows. Mobile barriers rise at the lagoon inlets during severe high water, holding back the Adriatic. The protection is powerful, but not free of consequence. Each closure costs money and changes water exchange between lagoon and sea. After large cruise ships were barred from the Giudecca Canal, much of the traffic shifted elsewhere. The lagoon economy's pressure remained. Mows can defend the buildings from high water. Keeping homes, shops, and transport usable for residents requires a different barrier against passing crowds. This canyon became famous only after a power project pulled much of its river away. In 2007, the Karanyuka hydropower project diverted most of the Yokulsa Ardal, exposing far more of the basalt walls. The columns came first. Thick lava cooled slowly, split into hexagons, and built near vertical ranks almost 30 meters high. For generations, a powerful glacial river, heavy with dark sediment, concealed much of that structure. Engineering lowered the flow. Photography then converted exposed rock into a destination. The blue-green water helped sell the image, but even that color is conditional. Glacial sediment and seasonal releases can turn the river gray or brown. By the late 2010s, images had spread widely online. Parking, trails, stairs, and viewing areas followed across land still used for farming. Access now carries its own pressure. One side offers easier observation, the other demands a longer walk and draws some visitors onto wet rock beside changing water. Informal paths widen as feet avoid mud and seek new angles. Vegetation gives way, while limited rescue access makes every careless detour harder to manage. Stödlagil was not simply discovered. Energy infrastructure created its modern visibility, and digital attention multiplied the load. Its future rests on restraint, firm roots, protected farmland, and an honest account of what opened the gorge. Every human variable beneath Waitomo's glowing ceiling, light, breath, heat, noise, airflow, has to be controlled. Thousands of blue-green points come from Arachnocampa luminosa larvae, a fungus gnat found only in New Zealand. Each larva shines to draw insects towards silk lines coated with sticky droplets. This is not firefly light, it is a feeding tool inside limestone. Maori leader Tane Tinorau and English surveyor Fred Mace explored the cave together in 1887. Tinorau's community began guiding visitors soon afterward. The warning arrived in 1889. Harm was recorded only 2 years after that exploration, long before modern mass tourism. Ownership was returned in 1989 to descendants of the original Maori owners who now share management and benefits. That authority matters because access requires constant limits, not symbolic protection. Boats follow fixed routes. Group sizes, artificial lighting, airflow, humidity, temperature, carbon dioxide, and flood conditions are all controlled or measured. Human breath adds carbon dioxide. Noise and light alter the chamber. Changed ventilation shifts the larvae's narrow habitat. Popularity, therefore, creates more monitoring and sometimes more restriction. Tourism supports local authority and conservation, but the glow endures because managers can admit fewer people than demand would allow. Madagascar's famous avenue is not a planted corridor. It is what remained after the forest around it was cleared. Around 24 Grandidier's baobabs rise nearly 30 meters beside a dirt road, along roughly a quarter-kilometer of Route Nationale 8. They survived generations of clearing for fields and settlement because communities valued them for food, materials, shade, and cultural meaning. Their Malagasy name, Renala, means mother of the forest. The name carries a hard fact. The trees remain, but the wider dry forest no longer surrounds them. The trunks store water through a long dry season, yet isolation creates a different strain. Rice cultivation and altered drainage can waterlog roots built for a drier landscape. Route Nationale 8 still carries residents and local transport. At peak viewing hours, vehicles, pedestrians, and tripods compete for the same narrow strip of working road. Natural monument status arrived in 2015. But a legal title cannot rebuild woodland. Fire and continued forest loss still press against the protected symbol. The avenue is more than a protected landmark. It records what clearing leaves behind. Protection fails if it saves 24 trunks while the surrounding woodland keeps shrinking. The world's tallest waterfall is protected first by the difficulty of reaching it. Angel Falls drops nearly 1,000 meters from Ollantaytambo, yet its base still requires a flight to Canaima, a motorized canoe journey, and a forest walk. This ancient sandstone table mountain rises behind vertical cliffs inside Canaima National Park. Cloud and rain feed streams above, then the plateau releases them over its edge. Pemon communities knew this landscape before Jimmy Angel publicized the falls internationally in the 1930s. Karepakupai Meru now stands beside the imported name. More than 800 meters of the plunge is uninterrupted. In drier periods, much of that water breaks into mist before reaching the base. The river still controls the timetable. Low water can slow or block boats. Heavy rain strengthens currents and reduces visibility. Remoteness has kept visitor numbers below those of road-accessible waterfalls. It has done what formal controls often struggle to do, hold mass tourism at a distance. Yet the same barrier slows patrols, rescue, maintenance, and any response when pressure spreads across the park. Illegal mining, fire, and fuel movement press against a park already weakened by a prolonged national crisis. Here, distance holds back the crowd, but it cannot patrol the land. More than 20 kilometers of ice still command the valley while the glacier disappears in plain sight. The Aletsch Glacier, the longest in the Alps, has retreated more than 3 kilometers since the late 19th century. Its scale conceals the change. Several major ice streams converge near Concordia Plats, compressing accumulated snow into a body hundreds of meters thick. Where those tributaries join, dark medial moraines carry rock debris down the valley. They expose motion inside what appears, from a distant viewpoint, to be fixed terrain. But a brief look cannot measure a glacier. Annual surveys record the terminus pulling back, the surface dropping, tributaries thinning, and bare rock widening along the walls. The consequences continue below the ice line. Plants slowly occupy newly exposed slopes, while retreating ice can loosen rock and change the timing of water downstream. Cableways and hiking routes make the UNESCO-listed Jungfrau Aletsch landscape unusually accessible without requiring visitors to step onto the glacier. That access puts a remote climate record within public reach. Yet access creates an illusion. A clear view can make the present scale feel secure, even as measurements prove otherwise. More than 3 kilometers of retreat turns the grand view into a warning. Protecting the trail is local. Stabilizing the ice requires restraint in emissions produced far beyond the valley. A conservation title covers this entire island, while development advances one shoreline at a time. UNESCO designated all of Fuerteventura a biosphere reserve in 2009, while resort centers continued to concentrate buildings and water demand along the coast. The second largest Canary Island lies about 100 kilometers from Africa. Age and erosion have flattened much of its volcanic mass into arid plains, ridges, and exposed beaches. Trade winds drive Coralejo's mobile dunes and draw windsurfers and kitesurfers from far beyond the archipelago. The coast also supports lagoons, salt marshes, seabirds, and marine life. That overlap is the real test. Coralejo, Caleta de Fuste, and Morro Jable turn wind and sand into rooms, roads, pools, and year-round demand. On an island with very little rain, growth cannot simply open another reservoir. Resorts, landscaping, and a larger population rely heavily on desalinated water. Desalination keeps taps running, but it consumes energy and leaves concentrated brine that must be managed. Roads and buildings also split dune and steppe habitat into smaller pieces. Inland, goat herding, and Majorero cheese keep livelihoods tied to the dry land. The reserve must hold work and wildlife together, not freeze the island. A reserve is more than its boundary when public authority limits water demand, roads, and coastal construction. Without those limits, protection is only a label over consumption. Remoteness once worked as a wall. That wall is now cut by asphalt, ports, cableways, dams, aircraft, and images pushed across millions of screens. I do not think the answer is to seal every place away, nor is it to treat every opening as progress. The stronger answer is controlled entry, firm quotas, protected corridors, licensed guides, local authority, and revenue tied directly to repair and care. Where those limits are weak, popularity can outrun rock, ice, reefs, water, and living communities. Where limits hold, Discovery can pay for protection without taking command of the place. This is a test of power in the modern travel age. Not whether humanity can reach the last extraordinary landscapes, but whether it can build restraint into the roads that lead there. If this boundary matters, keep examining who builds the route, who controls the gate, and who carries the pressure. Share the film with someone who believes discovery must also protect.